this issue in Philadelphia that bubbled up on Sunday night is going to last for a lot more than an hour into the future. This is something that I think the Eagles are going to be dealing with throughout the offseason. When we were talking about it yesterday, Chris, it reminded me of what the Seahawks dealt with for multiple years after Super Bowl 49.
Yeah.
The consternation in the building and the criticism from outside the building. And I think it was a bigger deal inside. This is both for the Eagles. So yesterday, the process of trying to dig out of this hole continued. It was after the game that Doug Pederson was asked about why he put in Nate Sudfeld. He said he was playing to win the game. Yesterday, he had a joint press conference with GM Howie Roseman, and Pederson was asked, now that he's had a chance to sleep on it and understand that people are upset, does he have any more to say about the way things went down in that game with Jalen Hurts being removed for Nate Sudfeld? Here's what Pederson had to say yesterday in response to that question.
A bit, and quite frankly, I look at the entire body of work. I look at the entire season, and it's definitely not the season that we all had anticipated. And our offensive struggles have not been about one position group or one guy or whatever. It's been a multitude of issues that we've had, and again last night in that game, we were in a situation where we failed to score as an offense. We failed to score there at the end of the third quarter. We were struggling just a little bit to move the ball. Defensively, they kept us in the game with a couple of takeaways late, and my plan was to get Nate in the game. Nate's a guy that is very capable of running our system and executing, and an opportunity to pull that game out last night.
He said a lot of things. Nothing he said was responsive to the question he was asked, other than, I have thought about it. Other than that, he starts rambling through all of these other pastures that have nothing to do with the question. And I get it because, look, Chris, what can they say? What can they say? There's nothing they can say. And it dawned on me yesterday, if all of these accusations and allegations they deliberately tried to lose, or as you pointed out yesterday, and I think it's a valid point, and I mentioned it last night on PFT, the idea that they were trying to get Jalen Hurts out of the game before he had a great win that would make it harder to put Carson Wentz back on the field next year.
Right.
Anything other than we try to win the game. If they're being accused of this, we tried to lose the game, and it's false, they need to be upset. They need to be shouting and yelling, and they need to be in people's faces saying, how dare you suggest that we would impugn the integrity of the game with this kind of behavior? Of course we wouldn't do that. They're not doing that. They're on the defensive, not the offensive,
Totally.
Which tells me that this is exactly what happened. This is exactly what they were doing, and they have a mess that they're going to have to clean up. Even though, I understand why they did it.
Too.
It makes sense. But in that moment, man, it's a tough one to pull off when you had everyone thinking the Eagles were going to come out and play that game to win, not play that game to lose and get a higher draft pick.
Well, and it sounds like that's where, he led his football team to believe that they were going to play to win. I mean, we heard the comments from Jim Schwartz and everything like that about this is a no-hat game. They didn't want to see NFC East Division hats, champion hats on their field after the game, all that. So the players were led to believe that they were, as an organization, trying to win the game. I'm with you, Mike. I mean, I understand it. I get the movement. I do. You just don't know. Again, I mean, 9-6. All right. Yeah. Oh, wow. We beat Washington. Whoa, whoop-de-doo. We're 5-11. We're 5-10-1. Oh, wait, man. There's a guy at pick number 7 that would change our football team. Man, I wish we didn't win that meaningless, stupid game against Washington. I get that. I do. The risk is what we're seeing, though. We're seeing the risk right now. The crap has hit the fan. There's no other way to say it. We're hearing players are pissed off. They're reeling. He's reeling. He didn't answer the question like you said. He tried to say that he made the move to Sudfeld to basically jumpstart the offense. Is that what he was trying to say there, that they didn't score on a drive? Well, they would have scored if you kicked the field goal on 4th and 4, Doug. So obviously, I don't know why can't they just say it? What's wrong with just going, yes?
No.
Why? We all know it right now.
Right, we all know it. I think they can't say it for two reasons.
Okay.
One is the league office will descend on them with the same kind of zeal that we saw the league office descend on the Saints in Bountygate and the Patriots in the various Spygates and Deflategate. The league is not going to do anything about this unless someone says, oh, we were trying to lose. They're not going to second guess roster decisions made in game, who plays, who doesn't. They're not going to do it because they know it's impossible to prove anything. But if they admit it, then you're done. That's number one. That's why they're not going to admit it, because if they admit it, the league will clobber them. Number two, and this is a point that I think we alluded to yesterday, but I don't think I emphasized it enough, and I'm going to write a dedicated post about this later today on PFT. The spread of legalized gambling complicates this so much because every bet that's placed is done under the premise that the team is trying to win the game. And your point about Jim Schwartz, that's a great pull. That's a great point, because when he says this is a no T-shirt, no hat game, that sends the message to everyone, we're not laying down. We're treating this as mini bowl game, right? This is our exit for the season. We get a chance to walk off the field the last game of the regular season, knowing that that team across from us was playing for everything and we were playing for nothing, and we kicked their butts. Schwartz set that tone. So when you and I picked the Eagles, we picked the Eagles under the premise that it was a no T-shirt, no hat game. And we thought fair and square 60 minutes the Eagles would beat them. So, and I was pissed about it, and I didn't have any money on it, right?
Yeah.
People out there who bet on the Eagles are going to be upset. And as it's legal, I see when it's illegal, who are you going to complain to? Well, I got a problem with my bookie. Well, who cares? It's illegal. When it's legal, then you start calling your congressman, your senator, whoever. Then it becomes a bigger deal. That's why the NFL needs to be concerned about what happens. And I don't know what the solution is.
No.
But that's why the NFL needs to be concerned.
Well, yeah, gamblers, you better just not bet on these type of games. I mean, that's that would be my advice to them. That's just anytime there's the threat of this happening. Why can't the Eagles come out and just say something as in, hey, we were trying to win the game, but in the process, we needed to evaluate players for 2021. That's another way. I just go ahead. What?
Well, you say that last week, and in hindsight, Pederson kind of hinted around that Nate Sudfeld may play, but he didn't. He wasn't that express about it. My point is, that's a seed you need to plant before the game, not after the game.
Yeah.
If you say it before the game, instead of this is a no hat, no T-shirt game, okay. After the game, it's a tougher sell because it's something you should have made clear before the game started.
Yeah, okay, I get that. You're right. It is a tougher sell. There's no doubt about it. Listen, they're in a tough spot here. There's no doubt they're going to have to deal with this for probably a few days. Hearing this, but all in all, it still goes back to they thought this was the right thing for their organization. Now we're going to see how it plays out. I don't think we're going to know if this was the right thing for their organization right now. Let's see what happens in the draft and. Let's see what the backlash continues to be from their football team. Doug Pederson, the one thing he's been phenomenal at managing players and personalities in his football team with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I got to think that he welcomed this in some ways just because of he's got to have confidence in himself that he could talk to the guys the right way in the locker room and smooth this over. But if guys feel like they were lied to or BS to some degree last week in preparation for the game, that's going to be a deeper wound, and there's going to have to be some healing there and maybe some more heart-to-heart type of talks that, to repair the locker room a little bit might have to happen.
I remember when Pederson got the job, Jeffrey Lurie touted this concept of emotional intelligence, and it caused me and maybe others to just assume that Doug Pederson was this Svengali that was always going to say the right thing and do the right thing and have the right relationships. But the evidence is there that maybe he's not, based upon how this was handled, based upon these reports that Carson Wentz thinks their relationship is fractured beyond repair. And we're going to talk about Wentz skipping out on talking to the media yesterday, which may kind of lend some credence to the idea that he's upset with Doug Pederson and Pederson hasn't handled it. It could just be that Chip Kelly set the bar so damn low for emotional intelligence in Philadelphia that anyone would have more than Chip Kelly had when it relates to dealing with players and media and everyone else. But, I think there are real questions about people skills and about understanding what you need to say to your players and when and how, because they failed. This was a huge, unexpected pass-fail test, Chris, and they failed it.
They did. I mean, to this point, they definitely did fail it. Now, we'll see in the offseason, the roster, what guys start to say, how the draft unfolds, what's Philadelphia going to say, and the fans and some of the players say if, the draft comes around and they get some stud at number 6 where everybody's excited. That might lessen the blow too. So I think this is something that's going to kind of resonate here throughout the spring and everything like that. And we'll see, how the Eagles can handle it best going forward.
The best they could do going forward is trade the 6th pick for the 9th pick and get some huge haul so then they can say, look at what we got. Look at what we got
right
for losing that game. Will you please leave us alone now? Please, please, please. But I don't think that's going to happen because they're probably going to drive too hard of a bargain if whoever has the 9th pick wants the 6th pick, depending upon who's available in that spot. There was the report last night from Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer, who kind of alluded to it, that there were problems on the sideline during the game. Multiple defensive players wanted to confront Doug Pederson and were prevented from doing so. Jason Kelce and another offensive player actually went to Pederson during the game with kind of a what gives explanation, which underscores your point, Chris. He didn't set this up internally. He led them to believe that they were going to go out there and they were going to try to beat Washington. And, in everything he said and everything he did in the week of preparation, that's the message that they got. Whether it was what he said before the game in the locker room, what he said at halftime, all of a sudden it flips. It just tells me that it was handled so poorly that these players didn't see it coming, that we didn't see it coming, that no one saw it coming. That exacerbates the problem.
Well, yeah.
And the report in the Inquirer shows that he's got issues outside and inside that he's going to have to deal with.
Definitely. And I think what makes it worse, because, like you just pointed out, it sounds like there was no warning to the players during the week. What makes it worse for the players, at least, right, from that standpoint, is they were on the field, putting their butts on the line, throwing their bodies around, and this is where it really hurts. They were out there going, we can beat this team. We're every bit as good. We're better. We can win. And they were out playing Washington. I mean, they really were in a lot of ways, to where, that was scary. So that will piss off players even more, because they're sitting there going, wait, we can beat them. I know they're going to the playoffs, but I'm blocking them. I'm feeling it out here. We have the energy in the team to beat them today on this given night. And then to have that kind of just bam, knife in the tire deflation, like, what? We're putting Nate Sudfeld out there? That's the killer. And that's probably where Jason Kelce's like, what gives, dude? I just pulled and had to smash my head into Chase Young 12 times. Now you're going to tell me we're not really playing? And that is the problem. And that's where he's going to have some tremendous people skills to figure this one out.
Ron Rivera, coach of the Washington football team, addressed the issue yesterday in the aftermath of winning the game and, in turn, winning the NFC East. Here's what Rivera had to say.
You play who's out there. I'm not going to apologize for winning. Apparently, that's what everybody wants me to do, is apologize for winning. I'm not going to, because you play the game as it's set up, okay? Nobody complained when Pittsburgh did what they did last night against Cleveland. I mean, come on, this is just the way it is, okay? We got in the playoffs. We're 7-9. Okay. I've been 7-8-1 in the playoffs. I was on an 8-8 team that was in the playoffs. And you don't apologize for getting into the playoffs. Okay. You apologize for losing in the playoffs. At least I believe you do, but you don't apologize for getting in, because it's been a hard roll for us. And nobody seems to care about that. Nobody cared 2 weeks ago when we didn't have some of our best players. Nobody cared last week when we didn't have them. So why should we be concerned if a coach decides to do something he thinks is best for his team? Okay, that's the thing I think people need to understand. This is just the way the game's played. This is just the way things happen. A lot of people are happy about it. A lot of people aren't happy about it. And that's just tough. That's just the way it is, okay? I mean, so many things have happened in this world that are tough, that are hard. Okay. This is just the game that we're playing, and we're going to play the game as it comes to us. And I'm not going to apologize. I'm not. That's just the way it is.
I like feisty Ron Rivera.
I do too.
And but there is a fundamental difference between strategically resting starters in advance of the postseason versus strategically removing starters in the hopes of losing so you get a higher draft pick, or, as the case may be, removing Jalen Hurts before he does something that will make it impossible to go back to Carson Wentz next year, which is also a potential explanation. There's a chance it's both reasons why that ultimately happened.
Right.
But there is a difference. So and that's kind of what bothers me about some of the things that we're hearing in response. Don't compare it to removing starters when you've clinched the 1 seed or you've decided we're probably not going to get the 2 seed. Buffalo's going to beat Miami, so we're not going to put Ben Roethlisberger out there. We're going to give him the week off to get him ready for the playoffs. That is fundamentally different than choosing to lay down and lose the game for strategic reasons unrelated to this year. These are issues of what's best for my team next year.
Yeah.
And look, here's the thing. It shouldn't be taboo. The fact that the NFL has traditionally said, oh, nobody tanks, we don't see evidence of that. Everybody tries to win every single game. The fact that they have pushed that for so long and ignored the tanking that can happen, that is in plain sight, the temptation is there. As long as you let the worst team have the first pick in the draft and fill out the rest of the first round based upon worst all the way to Super Bowl winner, you're going to have that temptation. But they want to act like it's not there. It's there. And they act like it doesn't exist, so when it happens, people are stunned. I was texting with my niece, the huge Browns fan, yesterday. She was oblivious to all these issues and motivations. Most fans are.
Yeah, right.
Because they act like it's not part of the strategy. But it is for some teams, and we saw that Sunday night.
It's going to continue to be more of a strategy. The day of analytics and all of those things and, again, more knowledge about assets and trades and things like that. The fact that there's a salary cap with first-round picks and all of that, they're more easily moved assets, too, at this point, that I would think we're going to continue to see more and more of this type of play. Again, we know it's risky. Yes. The biggest reason we're talking about it, though, is like kind of just what you just said. That proves it. We're talking about it because it's never been thrown in everybody's face the way it was Sunday night, where you're going, wait, this team looks like they're going to pull off the upset. What? Wait, this is national TV. This is a playoff caliber game. There's another team at home that is depending on a team to get in the playoffs. Wait, they're taking the quarterback out who's been successful lately and putting a guy in that we've never seen before and doesn't even look right out there on the football field? Wait, that doesn't seem right. And I think that's where it's just blown up. Because like you said, it's the first time the really, I don't want to, for lack of a better way, low-level, just part-time, pay attention to the NFL has had this smack them in the face. And it's taken, sports media by storm here the last 24 hours.
And I think that's right. The casual fan, the Super Bowl Sunday fan, the late season fan, the did my team make it to the playoffs, that's all I care about fan is like, what? Wait a minute. Why is everybody upset? What's going on here? Why aren't the Giants in the playoffs? What did the Eagles do? And when they start getting answers to those questions, they're like, well, I don't agree with that. And that's what's adding to this becoming a bigger deal than maybe anyone thought it was going to be as it was happening on Sunday night. We had some feisty Ron Rivera. We also have another coach in the NFC East who is not happy with what happened and its aftermath. Now, Rivera's happy with what happened. He's not happy with the aftermath. Judge isn't happy with what happened, and he's part of the aftermath. Here's Joe Judge, the Giants coach, with his thoughts on what the Eagles did on Sunday night.
Obviously, players have asked me throughout the day, and I just can't express that. I think one thing to keep in mind with this season is we had a lot of people opt in to this season. Okay, we had a lot of people opt in. All right, coaches, players, that includes family members as well. All right, so to look at a group of grown men who I ask to give me effort on a day in, day out basis and to empty the tank, and then I can look them in the eye and assure them that I'm always going to do everything I can to put them at a competitive advantage and play them in a position of strength. To me, you don't ever want to disrespect those players and their effort and disrespect the game. The sacrifices that they made to come into work every day and test before coming in, to sit in meetings spaced out, to wear masks, to have shields over those masks, to go through extensive protocols, to travel in unconventional ways, to get text messages at 6:30 in the morning telling them practice is going to be canceled. We have to do a virtual day. Okay, to tell them, please don't have your family over for Thanksgiving. Please avoid Christmas gatherings. We know it's your wife's birthday. Let's make sure we put that one off to the off season. There's a number of sacrifices that have been made by all the players and coaches in this league. There's a number of sacrifices that come along as well with the family members of the people connected to them. To disrespect the effort that everyone put forward to make this season a success for the National Football League, to disrespect the game by going out there and not competing for 60 minutes and doing everything you can to help those players win, we will never do that as long as I'm the head coach of the New York Giants.
You know, a lot of people were motivated and inspired and driven by what Judge had to say. There's some logical flaws in there, and I don't want to quibble too much with it. The idea that we had people opt in to play the season, that was to play the season. That wasn't to determine who gets the privilege of the 32 teams to play in the postseason. They worked hard to get the games in so people could earn their money and pursue their livelihood. This wasn't, well, everyone opted in, so we have this stronger duty to the integrity of the game. I think he goes a little too far with that.
Okay.
But I can understand why he's upset.
Right.
I understand why he's upset. He should be upset. But at the same time, he should understand that there may be a chance at some point down the road if the Giants on his watch are 3-12 going into Week 17 and John Mara comes to him and says, I think we'd like to see what the backup quarterback can do this weekend, if you know what I mean. I mean, that's always there. And that's my other point too, Chris, and I'll let you chime in. If he truly is upset about it, he shouldn't be talking to the media. He should be going to John Mara, one of the most influential owners in the NFL, and saying, hey, John, you should do something about this. You've got the hotline to the commissioner like they had at the Batman back in the day, the red phone, and you pull the head of the statue up and you pick up the phone, whatever they did. They press the button, the bat signal, all that stuff. You can go to the commissioner and you can say, this is unacceptable, do something about it. So I don't think that John Mara will, because again, I think the league is just kind of like, we don't want to get our hands dirty with this. We don't want to dignify this. We just rather it all go away.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because it's a tough spot. What is the league really going to do here in this spot? Like you said, there's really a no-win situation. To shed more light on it, it's only going to bring it into people's, their sight anyways, as far as like, oh, this does go on. Wow, I didn't know it happened then and it happened here. So the NFL wants nothing to do with this. The big thing is, hey, the Eagles did what they felt was best for their organization. You can never fault them for that, okay? But what Joe Judge does do, I mean, first off, I mean, you're right. The COVID thing, sure, it is a more of a tough year. And I feel like you want to respect players a little bit more because of all the things they've had to go through. But that doesn't have anything to do with this conversation. But I think the number one thing Joe Judge shows right there is everything we've talked about. That's why you have talked to longtime NFL people who go, this is why this is a dicey, scary situation to involve into the culture of your football team for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's why I think a lot of big-time coaches never did these type of things, because they don't want that ever to be infused into their locker room or have their players think, whoa, my coach BS'd me or lied to me. What else is he lying about? And all of those type of things. And then again, the coaches are the ones that are always, we compete in meetings. We compete in practice. We compete all day long. We got to lay it on the line. That's how we're going to differentiate ourselves. So in this close league is we're going to compete at everything. And then, no, that doesn't happen in Week 17. So Joe Judge at least gave you, I think, a great look into like, hey, this is why you don't do it, and this is the message he wants to send to his team, and Doug Pederson's going to have to clean up his message to his team.
We need someone other than Joe Judge to carry that flag,
You're right.
though, because Joe Judge obviously is the one most interested in it. Mike
Right.
McCarthy would be good to play that flag because, like, hey, we went out there and busted our butts winning a game thinking that we had a chance to maybe get to the playoffs if we won that game. If we'd have known, well, why did we try to win? Why did we go all out to try to keep our hopes alive for the postseason.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.